King Louis did not just leave it at that. He was not satisfied with failure, and I mean, that was some failure, getting kidnapped and ransomed, not good. So he planned for a second crusade. It wasn't very popular in France, funnily enough. They're probably getting fed up of crusades at this point. But he did get royal support from King James I of Aragon. And Aragon was a kingdom up in the north of Spain. And he got support from King Henry III of England. That's actually a pretty big deal, because France and England don't get on at this time period. So he's like, I've learned from my mistakes. I'm going to make sure I've got better backing, and I'm going to be better organized than before. The plan this time is to meet in Sardinia, and Sardinia is an island off the west coast of Italy. And they're like, okay, this is going to be our meeting point. We're all going to get together, and then we'll head off together. And we know that this is usually a plan that works well, but does not execute again. The Spanish went home, the English were late. I don't know what that says. Then they all get to Sardinia and they're like, okay, so why are we in Sardinia? Why aren't maybe Cyprus? No, that's because they were all to get together for the top secret announcement of the destination, Tunis. That was just WTF. Mad. Tunis? Really? The top secret destination is Tunis? To this day, it divides historians as to what was going through their heads. Could it be Tunis so that Louis could secure Charles of Anjou in his control of Sicily? Could it be that they had some really dodgy misinformation telling them that Tunis supported Egypt? Because they don't. Is there misinformation that the emir of Tunis, the name of the leader of Tunis, was going to convert to Christianity? Because he wasn't. Was it because they thought it would be easy to take and therefore it would be a North African stopping point? Yeah, we don't know. We really don't know. It is a head scratcher to this day. And this whole thing was an epic failure, even in the Crusades. And like, come on, a lot of these are epic failures. I mean, we're always like, well, could it be interpreted as successful? You know, it's as I say to the students in EH101 when I have to do the Crusades in one class with them. Look, all the gains are made in the first one, and then all the later ones are them trying to do what they did in the first one all over again. This one, yeah, Tunis. No. Louis died. So, yeah, that didn't work out very well. Then the army got sick. They got absolutely devastated by disease. The only person who benefits, I'm not even going to ask you, could this one be interpreted as a success? No, I'm not even going to ask you that this time, because the only person who benefits is Charles of Anjou. You get Sicily. They don't get anywhere near their supposed destination. The Muslim leader at this time is Baybars. He's another famous, and you know, we know Saladin, and Baybars is up there too. He's like, those idiots, they're going to Tunis. Okay. So he just continues his attacks, knowing that the Christians are stupidly headed off for Tunis. Meanwhile, Edward of England is like, I'm not content with this. So he goes to the Holy Land, and all he manages to do is annoy the Mongols, rile them up, and then because he's got the Mongols really upset, he makes a truce with Baybars. So actually, if I was going to ask you a question, it would be, could we even consider this as being a crusade? Considering, yeah, it's... yeah, it's not quite as zany as the fourth, but it's a WTFer like the fourth. What this is now heralding is a series of major losses of the Crusader states. It's pretty, you know, domino effect now to the end of the Crusader states. Baybars is a very successful leader on the Muslim side. In 1268, Baybars attacks the area around Accra. He seizes Beaufort Castle. He breaches Tripoli's walls in just 4 days. In 1271, he takes this castle, pictured here, Crac de Chevalier. It is the Crusaders' most beautiful and loved and their prize castle in the whole of the Holy Lands. It's a cracking looking castle architecturally, but it's also on a load of trade routes. And Baybars takes Crac de Chevalier, which is supposed to be like, you know, I mean, actually, in all honesty, if you were going to say a castle was impregnable, you'd probably point to Crac de Chevalier. But Baybars is that good. He takes it. By Baybars' death in 1277, the Crusaders only have some coastal cities. They are surrounded by the Mamluk Empire. So the Muslims are united under the Mamluks. They've completely lost their network of castles. This was how they were holding their stuff together. They had a tiny group of knights, but they were able to hold it together because they had such great castles. And them castles were manned by the military orders, but they lost them. They're clinging on with their fingertips by Baybars' death in 1277. They then take Markhab, another one of these castles, from the Hospitallers. They were allowed to leave. Then they took Tripoli. In 1291, Khalil took Accra. That is the last place that they have. And to make sure they can't come back, he razes it. That's the siege, the siege of Accra. That's the end of them in the Crusader states. The Knights Hospitaller, though, one of the orders, they gain Rhodes, at least, the nearby islands, and Halicarnassus, which is off the coast of Turkey. So there is, it's not to say that there's no Crusader presence in the Eastern Mediterranean. That's not true. They have got a lot of what are now today Greek islands, but nothing in what had been the Crusader states. Why do they lose the Crusader states in such rapid succession? Well, Charles of Anjou is one of our key players, and he's related to Louis, but he can't afford to be king of Jerusalem. Part of the problem that he faced is that the Sicilian Vespers revolt, and therefore his troops all went home. The Mamluk Empire is expanding, and they are really well organized. They unite everything. So it's a very organized and unified Muslim front. The Venetians are also still a problem because they're at war with the Genoese. And they actually are fighting part of this war in the Holy Lands. The War of St. Sabas took place in the Holy Lands, and the Genoese and the Venetians brought their forces there to fight him in the Holy Lands. So there was an international war between two Italian city-states, and the battleground was the Holy Lands. That's never going to go well. I mean, no place ever does well when a war is fought there, but particularly when the two big Italian trading empires are like, no, let's not wreck our own trading routes. Let's go and take it to the Holy Lands. The siege of Accra was a last stand. The military orders are pretty much the only ones left with any impact. They summon all they can from Europe, and they lose it all. It is followed by a very complete surrender. And then we get to the, we move forward in time, we get to the expansion of the Ottoman Turks. And by the time we hit 1453, and that's a long way in the future, it's going to be the end of the Byzantines too. They've lost their trade routes, the Westerners that is, they've lost their trade routes with the East going via the Holy Lands by this point. And who do they blame for this? Well, they blame the military orders. The contemporaries, if we read the primary sources, they're often like, well, these people did not do the job. But gosh, there's not very many of them. There's not very many of them left. They've lost their castles. They are really fighting an uphill battle. The only ones who don't really get blamed are the Knights of Hospitaller, who become known as the Knights of Rhodes, because they make territorial gains. They get Rhodes, and they keep some islands in the Eastern Mediterranean. So with that, not with a bang, but with a whimper, the end. No more Western Crusader foothold in the Crusader states. Now, if we had more time, if we didn't lose time because of COVID-19 and this different format, we would now be like, so why isn't there like a decent, again, attempt to go and get the Jerusalem back? Why is it not happening? So instead of us having a whole class discussing that, I'm going to actually just turn that over to your Flipgrid. For the Flipgrid, I want you to start to consider, and you can make an initial post. And then remember, you can always respond to somebody as well if they bring up something you hadn't thought about, or if you really feel strongly that they're talking nonsense. I want you to think about, why were there no more Crusades past this point? I mean, I really don't think that in retrospect they would be terribly happy with their legacy being the last one is, hey, let's go to Tunis. But why were there no more? And for that, I think we have to look at a lot of different historical factors of the of this time period. So I'm really, and also I'll tell you now, there is no clear answer. There is no right answer. There's no wrong answer. So it's a good one for you to like just have your say and argue it out. So at this point, let's head on over to Flipgrid.